Start, Sonia. Yeah.
Great morning. This is Sonia Jadaji Singh, international motivational speaker, NLP trainer, hypnotherapist, and faculty member at LKMIMSR. I want to welcome to our honorable guest, principal sir, co-organizers, teachers, students, and all the participants across the nation who are here to attend today's one-day national webinar on gender sensitization on the occasion of International Women's Day, organized by Sarvodaya Shikshan Mandal, LKM, Institute of Management Studies and Research, Kosara, Chandrapur. Affiliated to Gondwana University, Gadchiroli, which is approved by AICTE, New Delhi, accredited by MBA and B++ grade by NAAC with CGPA 2.99. In association with Jamnalal Bajaj, Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai, and Shanti Business School, Ahmedabad. Women are powerful. Indian culture gives women the utmost respect. Many of our gods are female, and they have been worshipped as a deity in many faithful people. The goddess of wealth is Lakshmi, the goddess of power and strength is Durga, the goddess of wisdom is Saraswati. The women are the epitome of wealth and power. Women plays an important role in society, and the whole family is dependent on women for its daily activities. They play the role of mother, wife, homemaker, cook, teacher, friend, nurse, all at the same time, while caring to everybody's needs. So happy Women's Day to all these multitaskers. And today, as I'm playing a role of an important role like an anchor, and I guarantee you that today's speakers are empower you and change your mindset. So I request all the participants to attend the entire webinar up to 1 p.m. and also submit online feedback form to receive the e-certificate. And now I request our today's program organizer and principal of LKMIMSR, respected Dr. Jane Chakravorty sir, to give the welcome speech. Please, sir.
Thank you, Sonia. Very morning, warm welcome to all the dignitaries over here. In this one-day national webinar on gender sensitization, I take this opportunity to welcome President of today's function, Honorable Dr. Kirtivardhan Dikshit sir, who is the ex-Vice Chancellor of Gondwana University, Management Counselor of Gondwana University, and Joint Secretary of our trust, that is Sarvodaya Shikshan Mandal. I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Prashant Bokare sir, who is newly appointed Vice Chancellor of Gondwana University, and under his dynamic leaderships, university is marching ahead for achieving a benchmark in the academic education. I welcome today's speaker, Dr. Sriparna Barua. She is basically head of Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, which works under the autonomous body of MSME, and she is heading that. Shortly she will be joining us, and she has done a commendable work in empowering women through entrepreneurships in the rural areas of Assam, that too in the tribal areas. Really hats off to you, ma'am. Again, I can see you, welcoming you, Dr. Aparna Barua. And the next speaker is Dr. Anjula Gurtu. She is Professor of Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. And she is again working in various bodies of Indian Institute of Science. In spite of her busy schedule, she will be joining us, in the another 10 minutes. And again, she has a great work towards gender sensitization. And I feel that this is a kind of event where the topmost academicians of their respective fields is available today. I would like to gladly mention here that in the YouTube, around 250 participants has participated in this one-day national webinar from across the globe. And basically, this is a traditions of organizing this program. Last year also, we had organizing the similar program on 8th of March 2021. Every program we organize, sir, this is due to the new education policy. Whatever the program we organized, it is on outcome based. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you. The last year we had organized one program on gender sensitization, where we have invited Bharti Zadav from Savitribai Phule Pune University. We are tie up with the Shanti Business School Ahmedabad also on that particular event. And that outcome of that event, I would like to share with you that after that event, we have formed one cell with Indian Medical Association. And I'm really proud to tell you that Indian Medical Association was being backed up by Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. And there was a program in our institute wherein the girls of our institute were early diagnosed for any kind of deadly diseases. So the funding from NGOs to Tata Memorial Hospital is around at 40 lakhs of rupees. And nearly 2 girl students from our region is now availing that particular facilities and being admitted to Tata Memorial Hospital, and the chemotherapy is going on over there. So I take this opportunity to request all the dignitaries over here, whether it's Anil Pandey is there, Neha Madam is there, Dr. Sriparna Barua is there, any kind of girl child from your region is suffering from any kind of disease, please do, direct to us where we could have some help to those girl child. That was the outcome of the previous seminar. Now, every seminar we are trying to come out with some outcome, and I'm quite sure under the resourceful Dr. Barua Madam is there, Anjula Gurtu is there. Today's seminar will be really fruitful, and we will come out with certain things. As far as our institute is concerned, I call myself very lucky that I am in tie-up with so many premier institute of India. I'm glad to see, sir, you can see, Honorable Vice Chancellor can see here that Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management is one of the premier management institute and one of the oldest management institute in Maharashtra. So it's feel really proud that whenever we submit any proposal, it has been wholeheartedly accepted by Jamnalal Bajaj. Thank you so much, Pandey sir. Neha Madam, my close friend, she is always with me. Anything that can extend a help on academic level. Again, thank you, Neha Madam, to supporting us. Very much thankful to IIM Ahmedabad, Dr. Anirban Banerjee. Again, extended lot of helps to us. Professor Srinivasan from IIM Kozhikode, Dr. Rama Patnaik from IIM Bangalore, Dr. Bala Subramaniam from ISC Bangalore. So I'm very grateful that I am being adopted, my institute being adopted by these people, and I'm enjoying the phase of adoption. So I feel that I will always be enjoying this adopted phase. So simultaneously, I would like to bring to your kind notice that the newly appointed Vice Chancellor of Gondwana University, Honorable Dr. Prashant Bokare sir, he is having the same nick of mind. So he is the first person where he has taken an initiative of kind of employment opportunity to the tribal people of tribal students of this region. Yesterday's evening at 7 p.m. I was with him in online meeting discussing the various his tie-ups with Tata Consultancy to train the students to given an employment opportunity through Gondwana University. I take this digital platform to request all of you that as you has shown a keen interest in our institute, please come to our Gondwana University. Have a tie-up collaborate with this university, and there will be, I'm quite sure there will be a win-win situation for both of us. I strongly request Dr. Sriparna Barua Madam. You are doing commendable job as a woman entrepreneurship. She is doing noble work. So let us collaborate with the Gondwana University and see what can be done on that particular level. So there will be an employment opportunities also, and that will be a win-win situation for both of us. And very thankful again to meet after so long, after this pandemic. Greatly thankful to all the dignitaries that accepted our request and being here for this event. Thanks for patience hearing. Thank you so much.
And all, hope I'm audible to you.
You are audible, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and Honorable dignitaries, all respected members, those who have joined this seminar through Google Meet and YouTube platform. So warm welcome and very good morning to one and all. Thank you very much that all of you have joined for this collaborative program with JBIMS and Sarvodaya Shikshan LKMIMSR Institute, that is from Chandrapur. I must begin with the outset with the word thank you very much to the organizers, especially to Professor Niyaj Chakravorty sir. Today's day is really important, and many speakers, they talk about, they begin their speech with saying that it's a pleasure indeed for me to be a part of this August gathering. But let me quote this way, that why I'm really happy today to be a part of this gathering, with the reason that for every man, every human being or woman, there is somebody at the back of him or her, the person who guides him. And with that guidance, he goes to a particular level in particular direction. I must quote today at this juncture when we are talking about gender sensitivity, what has happened for me and how important is the position of women in my life. It was that time when I was studying in my high school. Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, I've done my high school from Chandrapur. I'm very much aware of this city, and I'm very happy to be a part of Jubilee High School, and I got my further education then onwards. I'm one of the lucky person who got in touch with Shantaramji Portuke sir, and then it was so that there was in my class there was one person, student, who was very close friend of mine, and he used to take me along with him to his home, and I was in a hostel. My family, my dad, then he was posted in Gadchiroli, and the mother of my friend would take care of me because she knew that I'm all alone over here, and she used to guide me. It's with her guidance, it's with her love and affection for me, my life took turn. My friend who went ahead completing CA, CS, ICWA, CFA, and let me be proud to tell you that he got offices in Bangalore, Dubai, Australia, even US, Mumbai, Delhi. So he has opened up his office, and with such kind of teaching and a care by his mother, I have diverted myself and settled down in JBIMS. It's a great fortune for me. Hats off to that lady. All respect, all love. It means that today's day is really, really important for me. I'll also deliberate on some other things. Now, we really need such kind of programs to sensitize the neutrality, gender neutrality. Now, how important is the life? How important is the position of any woman, may it be child, daughter, may it be your wife or mother or others, those who are very close to you. They give a particular direction and a sense of love to one and all, and then becomes a man, then becomes you as a human being. And in today's world too, it's really important that these all qualities which are extended by every woman need to be upheld. And I believe this day and our presence, especially I say my presence, it's a gratitude to all the women, those who are present today, those who are very close to me. Special thanks to Neha madam because I know her for long, and special thanks even to all the ladies, those who are attending today's program. So, Jai sir, without taking much of our time, I know that Dr. Anjula madam, Dr. Barua madam are going to speak more on this event. I'll not take much of our time, and thank you very much for inviting me on this very important program. Thanks a lot.
Thank Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs. Now I request our Chief Guest of Honor, Honorable Dr. Prashant Bukhari, Vice Chancellor, Gondwana University, Gadchiroli, to address the audience. Please, sir.
Yeah. Hello, good morning, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. I really congratulate the management and the organizing team of LKMIMSR for organizing such a wonderful event and managed to board such a wonderful, what I say, count of dignitaries and the quality of dignitaries. Good morning, Dr. Dikshit, Dr. Pandey, Dr. Chakravorty, Dr. Barua, Dr. Hingne, Dr. Neha Sharma, and so many luminaries who have joined this platform. It's really great to talk about the gender sensitization, but at the same time, it's really great to work for the gender sensitization. Because yesterday when we were celebrating the Women's Day, we were deliberating upon the theme that why do we need to celebrate the Women's Day still? Because particularly in India, we have been in the free India for last 75 years and still we need to celebrate the Women's Day and still we need to talk upon the gender sensitization. This indicates that we need to go a long way in this direction. I would like to cite one or two examples in this, the kind of things which are being done with the initiative of the Gondwana University, which directly or indirectly helps in gender sensitization and of course strengthening the other gender to what we call the female. Yesterday we were fortunate enough to have on board with us Kumari Bhagyashri Lekhami, Kumari Bai Jamkatan, Srimati Fardana Sheikh, Nanda Dugga and Latatai VK. These 5 females, they are doing wonderful work in the tribal area of Gadchiroli and Chandrapur. One of the women in this, Kumari Bhagyashri Lekhami, she is the Sarpanch for cluster of villages and traveling from one village to another on her motorcycle and solving the problems of the people. This is really a wonderful thing. She said that she doesn't face any problem so far as the gender is concerned while working. So this is the way our society is now changing its mindset and the society is heading towards. Another thing I would like to mention here that the way we can strengthen the gender is by strengthening their participation in the business. Right now, the Gondwana University has initiated the training on minor forest produce with the help of the district administration. And we have started training the female from the Gram Sabhas on production of minor forest produce, then storage of minor forest produce and forward marketing of minor forest produce. It is in this sense that I look at the gender sensitization that the female in Gram Sabha, they are taking active initiative in marketing all these things, in storing all these minor forest produce and producing the minor forest produce. The Lekhamenda Gram Panchayat and the Menda Gram Sabha, as we all know, this year they have backed 1,21 lakhs out of the marketing of the minor forest produce, and this is one of the record probably in the nation. And this Gram Sabha is almost entirely run by the female, and female are just looking after all the needs of the society over there. So this kind of strengthening of female, if it is done in the society, I think gender sensitization will occur very fast. And this gives birth to a new concept, probably first time in India. We are talking about the entrepreneurship, we are talking about the individual entrepreneurship, we are talking about the startups. Few of the people, they come together and have their startup. But in villages, what we have seen, and we have coined a new term, community entrepreneurship. The community entrepreneurship is really a great thing in these Gram Sabhas because the whole community is advantaged through the community entrepreneurship. The Menda Gram Sabha has bagged 1,21 lakhs rupees this year. So whole of this money will go into the common farming, public farming, then community wells and community lakes and all that. Water arrangements will be made in common. Power arrangements with the solar will be made in common. So many public things will go common, and that's why village will be largely benefited through this community entrepreneurship. So, and the more important is that this community entrepreneurship is led by the women. This is more important, and I would like to underline this on the occasion of International Women's Day, 8th March. So this is really very important happening, which should be noted on the larger platform, and which should be acknowledged on a larger platform, that women are leading such community entrepreneurship initiatives, and they are strengthening their village. Not only the needs of the society are being addressed to, but the basic concept like the education is also being addressed by this community entrepreneurship. So this is the great thing which is being done, particularly in Gadchiroli and Chandrapur district, that I wanted to bring to the August gathering, to the attention of the August gathering of this platform. I really congratulate the LKMIMSR for inviting me on this occasion, and I take this opportunity to once again communicate you on this Women's Day, that we must sensitize the male gender on the women needs, on dealing with the women, and we must provide them opportunity to get ahead. And I'm confident that if we provide them opportunity, our society will become more beautiful, more sustainable, and more livable society. So with these words, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable inputs. Now I request respected Dr. K.R. Dixit, Joint Secretary, Sarvodaya Shikshan Mandal, Chandrapur, to deliver the presidential address. Please, sir.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the LKMIS for organizing this particular seminar, and the congratulations are more to the college for the statement which Mr. Jayesh has given, that he is more concerned about the outcome of this webinar which has been organized. That is what precisely one has to do. Organizing the webinar, seminars are very, very important, but the most important thing is that outcome based. If you organize the thing and evaluate what will be the outcome, it will be definitely helpful to the society. So, first of all, I would like to welcome and thank the Vice Chancellor of our university, Dr. Prashant Bokhare, for accepting our invitation to be the chief guest for this function. I personally delighted to note Mr. Pandey is from Chandrapur, and Mrs. Neha Madam, Barua Madam. I would like to request Barua Madam that the work she is going to, which she has done in Assam, the Gadchiroli is the similar environment you will definitely find, and with the presence of Dr. Bokhare, I must request Barua Madam to adopt the Gondwana University as a part of the MSME के project में आप उनको ले लीजिएगा. That will be a great help to the entrepreneurs working in this particular area. And here we are really fortunate. In last 5 years, Gondwana University has come out with the SRTC program, and they are doing so many projects on the bamboo craft and bamboo as a livelihood making project. And we are having the Forest Academy in Chandrapur district, and we are having the one research center also on the bamboo. So all the facilities which are required is available in this particular area. So their small association will definitely going to help to change the scenario of the Gondwana University. So once again, I would like to thank all the delegates who are joining this particular seminar, and wish that the outcome of this seminar will be definitely helpful. So once again, I thank each and everyone for inviting me for this particular function and giving me the opportunity to discuss with you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable inputs. Now I request Dr. Neha Sharma Ma'am, Director, Shanti Business School, Ahmedabad, and co-organizer of today's webinar, to give vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
A very good morning to everybody. First of all, congratulations to LKMIMSR and Gondwana University for and Jamnalal Bajaj Institute for co-opting Shanti Business School as a partner in this momentous task that you have taken. My thanks are due to the chief guest of the function, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gondwana University, the president of the function, the presiding dignitary, Dr. Dikshit, our organizer representative from Jamnalal Bajaj University, Professor Anil Pandey, the revered and speaker on the topic of gender sensitization, Dr. Sriparna Barua. I'm sure that all the participants here, the young girls and boys, they will take away a great message of how to make this society a more equitable place, which is beneficial, which is synergetic and beneficial, not just to the women who are in the society, but bring far greater rewards to the men also, if both the genders work together towards a synchronous goal rather than being opposed to each other. So we look forward to Dr. Barua's insights on the topic. I'm also grateful to other speakers who would be joining in due course of time. The greatest thanks is due for Dr. Jayesh Chakravorty, along with a big congratulations for achieving the benchmark of getting NBA accreditation for the institution. I wish you and the institute great success and hope that the partnership of Shanti Business School and LKMIMSR, we are able to do a lot of work in this field, in the academic field, taking us together. Thank you very much. The last thing before leaving as a lady, I would like to say that we ladies have the responsibility of making our place in the society, but we are thankful and for all the support which men like you provide to make this task an easier one. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am, for the vote of thanks. One of the major hindrances in the growth and advancement of women is gender inequality. This means that we treat males and females unequally, even for the same task. This is generally in the case of rural societies. A male child is always encouraged by the family to go to the school, while the female child is pulled to learn household work. To put more light on this topic of gender sensitization, now I request our resource person, Dr. Sriparna Barua ma'am, Head Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, Guwahati, to enlighten the audience with your valuable inputs. Please.
Thank you so much. A very good morning. Professor, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Prashant Bokhare, Gondwana University, Dr. J.N. Chakravorty, LKMIMSR, Dr. Dikshit, Dr. Neha Sharma, ma'am, and all other dignitaries who are here today, and all the participants who have joined through YouTube. It's indeed a great, what do I say, would be a great experience to sort of interact with someone, an organization, an institution based far, far away from Assam, the Northeast, and try to find synergies, because there are certain commonalities in anything that we do, and how we can, learnings that we have taken. I was particularly impressed by what Mr. Jayan Chakravorty first mentioned, that these webinars that we are doing, we always have a takeaway, and we try to, do a outcome-based webinars that we are getting to do. So this was something which immediately got my attention. And immediately I thought that, yes, here someone is talking about making it outcome driven, which very much. And then as I was hearing all others who were saying and what they would like to, why they have, looked at Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship here and the similarities between regions like where the institution is based and Assam. Yes, those are thoughts which had never come to my mind when I was looking at giving the lecture. But because I also, frankly speaking, I also thought that this would be one more webinar in which you just need to share your experiences. But these thoughts which you have expressed are indeed very touching, and I'm sure, and I hope that through the interactions that we have today, we would eventually, after the webinar is over, we can look at how we can leverage on each other's strengths and how we can sort of have convergence, if at all possible. So with that note, thank you very much for inviting me. And also thank you for, choosing a topic so very relevant. Today, we are already over with Women's Day, but Women's Day celebration definitely goes on. And today we are going to talk about women entrepreneurship, a subject which is very close to my heart. And as I was listening to different dignitaries talking about, women entrepreneurship, on livelihood projects, etc., while I will talk about opportunities and challenges of women entrepreneurs, I would also like to start by, a little bit sharing the various areas where I have worked as far as women entrepreneurs are concerned. I have understood that you are more interested, which, I think the Vice Chancellor was mentioning about community entrepreneurship. Yes, community entrepreneurship is something which I have worked for many years on a community entrepreneurship, and there have been many success stories on community entrepreneurship. And I think for lesser developed regions like ours, that is the answer for any enterprise creation. So definitely, I would like to speak on that. So basically, community entrepreneurship is something, because I also come from a pure academic background. The initial 10 years of my life was on absolute management education only. And after I joined, why I'm mentioning this, after I joined Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, by choice, I jumped into fieldwork. And when I say field work, it's absolutely, grassroots, and most of the grassroots activities where I looked at livelihood projects, cluster development, etc., are basically nothing but community entrepreneurship. And the first project that I handled with a pure academic background jumping into field was a project in a very difficult region of Northeast, which is Manipur. Now Manipur has developed a lot, but when I was talking about 2006, 2007, Manipur was boiling. Every other day, there would be terrorism, and there would be news stories in the headlines talking about how much restlessness there is in that state. Now, when I talk about Manipur, where I worked, the project which I worked on was working with 3,000 women weavers. So these 3,000 weavers, how they became empowered, how the entire strategy, maybe once I'm over with I never thought about sharing this experience in this gathering, but then since it would be an interest, I presume it's going to be an interest for many of you, particularly LKMIMSR. I would like to also share that I'll keep about 5-6 minutes to talk about that experience, so that if we look at convergence, if we look at how do we develop women entrepreneurs, 2-3 projects, I will talk about practical experiences from the project, so that the learnings, we can get some idea as to how do we take up community. Because today, community entrepreneurship, livelihood projects have become I would say, a fad also. And many a time we find that many of these projects, they are sort of the person who's driving it. If the person doesn't have passion, many a time that project doesn't take off. So what is it that really needs to build up community entrepreneurship is something I will harp on at the end. The topic which I had given today was on women entrepreneurship opportunities and challenges. So let me start with a small presentation on this topic. I would start with my presentation first. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
It's visible, right? So but it's not visible. Okay. So Let me talk about this, opportunities and challenges. See, we all know when we've been talking yesterday about the Women's Day, and we've all been talking about one thing, I think a common thing which we have all been talking about, which has been realized also by everyone, that women are nearly half of women's world's population, and until we don't have women in the workforce, no country can actually evolve and develop. Now, we also know about, when I'm talking to such a learned audience, we also know about the fact that till the time we know about the employment scenario, we know about the fact that we are limited, more alternative solutions would be available. Both developed and developing nations have realized that, and women entrepreneurship is indispensable to flourish as an economically developed nations. Now, women entrepreneurship is definitely an effective strategy to solve problems in urban and rural poverty and eventually lead to economic growth. Reduce problems of unemployment, which I have talked about, and narrowing the gender gap. As in more women are involved in economic activity, definitely we all know that it is going to narrow the gender gap. Now let's look at what is a women enterprise. Any enterprise that is controlled by women having minimum 51% capital, financial interest of 51% of the capital, and giving at least 51% employment and employment generated to at least 51% of two women is what we call the women enterprise, women-led enterprise. Anyway, this is something I will skip. I will not go into such details. We all know that India's economic growth is restricted by current levels of, something very interesting, because we are all talking about MSME is the engine of growth. But if you look at the registered MSME, if you look at the data, you will find that hardly 13.8% of the MSMEs are women-owned. We are looking at creating a $1 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy. We're giving different targets at different times, but women-owned enterprises are only 13.85%. And Northeast is somehow better because we have about 19% women-led enterprises. So various things like IMF, World Bank, McKinsey, they've all made estimates as to how much involvement of women is going to contribute ultimately to the economy. Now, having said that, let us look at women entrepreneurs in India, and I would like to put women entrepreneurs into two categories. The first category are women who are compelled to start an enterprise out of economic necessity. Not every entrepreneur and every woman who comes and sets up an enterprise is because of the passion, because she has often it is because of economic necessity. A lot of women come and set up their enterprise. What is the type of enterprises that we have? Typically micro and small enterprises. And I think this is going to be true pan-India. This is what I'm going to talk about. I'm trying to depict. They're mostly involved in occupations like a handloom, garments, beauty, wellness, bakery. Most of the women you will find they are these micro enterprises in the handloom sector, garment sector, beauty, wellness, bakery. At least in Northeast, to bakery, wellness. These are the sectors where you have most of the time women involved. Handloom and other could be handicraft also. So this is one category of women entrepreneurs. The second category are often college educated, comes from economically better households, have a larger appetite for risk, venture into non-traditional areas and innovative areas, and use technology. Just try to, for developed states, maybe states like Gujarat, etc., the situation could be different. But most of the time for lesser developed states, you will find that the second category is we have very less number of women in the second category. This slightly changing in the last 3-4 years, but nevertheless, even generally, if we look at women entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurs, we will find that the second category, who comes from people from economically better off households, I have often seen women do come up, but then it's mostly to help their father or how much seriously they are actually involved in. That those are questions we need to ask. How many enterprises we can actually show that it's a women initiated, or even if it's a father or a husband's company, how many of it has they have come up on their own with their own ideas, or are they just managing, or many a time they are the board of the company just because it helps the company to have a woman on board. Now, this category is something that we need to increase. Since we are all coming from academic institutions, etc., this is a category where we can work towards increasing this category. And as and when we have more and more success stories, we will be more and more women will be having the larger appetite for risk. Why this category is lesser? Because most of the time you are educated. If a person is educated, comes from economically better off household, they are more on the comfort level, they get a job, etc. So their appetite for risk is definitely is lesser. The trend has more or less a little bit changed, but women have started taking to entrepreneurship now. Skill, knowledge, and adaptability are the main reasons for more women into business. Government of India has realized and put a great emphasis on promotion of women entrepreneurs. We have the Niti Aayog has launched a women entrepreneurship platform, WEP, 2018 itself, and they have a lot of programs and long-term strategies for helping women scale up, helping women ideate, etc. At least the government on its own has taken up this initiative, it's given importance, and also has a dedicated platform for entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship platform. Now, what are the issues and challenges? Social reasons which dictate that women put home and kids before their aspiration. This is something I don't need to elaborate. I'm sure all of us agree to that. So this has been, social reasons has been something which the aspiration, more or less, you will find that women are more or less satisfied with little earning that they get, especially when they start. I'm looking at it more for women who have started their enterprises. The trend is changing, but some common barriers, especially for women who want to start their business. This has been voiced in the various studies. This has been voiced through also studies that we've been doing, particularly, when we look at women entrepreneur, I've talked about the SHG level. We could be having women entrepreneurs at 3 levels. One is the SHG level, absolutely the Weaver self-help group level. The second is the micro enterprises level, and third is the startup. So if you look at the entire spectrum of women entrepreneurs, so you could categorize them as people at the grassroots, which are self-help group, people who've started the small enterprises, which are micro and nano enterprises, starting something with 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, that's a nano and micro enterprise. And there are also women who have got into the startup space. We know about examples of Nykaa, which has become a unicorn, the first women-led enterprise which has become a unicorn. So that level also, there are startups also, but everywhere, whenever they're looking at starting their enterprise, some common challenges which they find is whether a person can travel. I mean, this is something, a barrier, there's a lot of skepticism for a woman to be taken seriously, particularly when she's getting into business. Whether they'll be able to spend money or commit enough. Who's going to give the money? That becomes a question. Now, we are talking about women and credit linkage. We have a Stand Up India scheme where you're supposed to get a collateral-free loan up to 1 crore. Yet, women-led enterprises are often considered, this I'm talking from my practical experience, to be high risk. And the question asked by banks, financial institutions, are whether the fathers, husbands will be guarantors. And here also women do face a problem, because till the time she is not married, the property is in her father's name. Once she gets married, it's in her husband's name normally, most of the time. So giving a bank guarantee becomes a big issue. Often for women to be taken seriously, she has to work harder than an average. So these are some of the, we are talking about hashtag break the barrier. This time, Women's Day here, one of the hashtags which we are using. But these biases, particularly for women in entrepreneurship, is something which is very much there. Now, the other one is these barriers. The other aspect of women becoming an entrepreneur is also that, her own confidence, her own unknown, there's a barriers created by the external world. There are also barriers because of the conditioning, which are often a women, have unknown barriers in terms of the aspiration, which is an aspiration barrier, is also a very common barrier which I've seen amongst women. They're more or less happy to earn something. When I talk about, there was a very interesting finding which I found from one of the effort which we had made for women entrepreneurs, for promoting women entrepreneurs. Government of Assam was working with us for promoting women entrepreneurs. And when the government of India was working, government of Assam was working, they said, we said that can we have an exposure trip for some of the women entrepreneurs of Assam? And government gave us funds. Yes, they can be taken for exposure trip to some Southeast Asian countries, because most entrepreneurs here are more in the handloom and the handicraft sector. So we floated, published the news in a newspaper, local daily, asking for applications from women entrepreneurs. And one of the criteria that we gave initially was a woman who has a minimum turnover of 50 lakhs per year will qualify for getting into this exposure trip. We found that we didn't get any application. We just got 1 or 2 applications for that. So we reduced the turnover, reduced it to 30 lakhs. Even then, we did not get people, and I had to return the money to government of Assam. Now, this is 30 lakhs turnover a year is nothing much. And here I was mentioning to you that I said that Northeast has 19% of my MSMEs, which is 6% more than the national average, women-led MSMEs. But why is it that we did not get even 30 people, even 20 people to apply for that? It's not that women are not in business. A very interesting thing which we found was that often the documentation, she's more managing something. She might be doing majority of the work, but she's more doing it for the husband, more doing it for the family. Her papers are not correct. So while there are some external barriers, there are also some internal barriers in terms of understanding, in terms of aspiration. So this is another thing which I have seen from my experience. Of course, the trend is changing, but we need to also look into solving some of these issues. So what is required is mentors. If from the institution we are wanting to promote women entrepreneurship or women enterprise, the need for mentor is very important. A mentor often is not a person. I mean, normally when we look at a mentor is a person who we normally look at retired bank officials, etc., as mentors. It's not only that. Mentors are required at every stage. Mentors are also required as a cushion for supporting the psychological needs. Mentors are required for ideating. Mentors are required for validation of ideas. Mentors are required for specific requirements, making up go-to-market strategy. So at different levels, mentors are required. So availability of the mentor makes a huge difference. So basically, the ecosystem which is there when we're looking at promoting entrepreneurs, the ecosystem has to be a very supporting ecosystem. So anyone wanting at any point of time to give a call to say that whenever she goes to any organization, there's a supporting ecosystem, the policies are there, and people are also aware. You'll be surprised to know that there are about more than 60 specific schemes and policies to support women entrepreneurs. Many of them have not even seen the light of the day, at least in the lesser developed states. So that is where, the confidence of the person, the willingness to get into details. So entrepreneurship journey is not an easy journey. So that's a bit, thing to be, so that support to help the person come up with a proper plan, proper idea, the support from the ecosystem is extremely important. Now, when we are talking about women, we have found, now this is from my own experience, and also from a lot of studies which we have done on women entrepreneurs. We know that women have a natural knack for starting and running a business. Because, women is often, when we talk about manager, we have so many people from the management discipline here, the faculty itself. We know that a woman is often considered as a best manager. Example, when we give about a manager, women is often considered as one of the best manager because, she has the ability to make efficient use of limited resources. We often find that the women are not good at numbers, but you will know that running a house is no less than running an organization. And women naturally have that knack for understanding numbers and multitask. Only thing, that barrier needs to be removed. More focused. And it is also seen that women who have actually started seriously, the failure rate is also less. Even if you look at bank defaulters, you will find that find lesser number of women who are bank defaulters. So people who have crossed the threshold, people who have gone to a certain level, you will find that they have taken off from where they had taken off, and they will never come back to where they had stopped. So these are some of the inherent qualities to promote women entrepreneurs. The ecosystem has to nurture these inherent qualities, and that's when enterprise, and this is for women across the value chain. It could be at the SHG level, it could be at the micro enterprise level. The needs would be different, but more or less the support system is required. So that is why you will find that incubation centers, effective incubation centers, are becoming a big support system for enterprise creation. Maybe if any institution is looking at promoting women entrepreneurs, maybe incubation dedicated to women could also be looked at, identifying opportunities for them. Because if we overall look at the type of enterprises, you will mostly find that these are the sectors: handloom, handicraft, gem, jelly, pickle making, beauty parlors, bakery. These are the areas in which we will find most women entrepreneurs concentrating. And if it is service sector, it will be more of retail outlets, paying guest accommodation, schools, etc., in which you will find more and more women into. But till the time you are getting a little, into unconventional enterprises also, women will not be taken seriously. That is the other aspect of women enterprise promotion. There's nothing wrong in starting a handloom or a handicraft or a jam, jelly, food processing unit. But then the level also remains there, and people do not value women entrepreneurs. I have often seen, as a woman working in this space for such a long time, I've also seen, most of the time they are clubbed as, okay, let's do an exhibition for the women entrepreneurs, and that's the end. Very less number of women go to conventions, discuss issues. Numbers are there. I'm not saying it's not there, but the numbers are pretty less. Because the other factor which I said is, they often women are satisfied with earning something. The husband is already earning, the family is already taken off. So through my handloom business, I'm earning at least something. I have a boutique, so you don't even know how much you are earning exactly many a time. Or even if you're earning less, much lesser than what you are capable of, you are more or less satisfied, because you sort of say that, women often say that at least I'm doing everything. So this becomes a hobby, an outlet. But to be contributors, to be taken seriously, one has to go beyond this also. But now, of course, trend is changing. We have, in the rural areas, we have examples of women converting cow dung to vermicompost, rice husk. It's not rich husk, it's rice husk to mushrooms, barren landscapes to orchards. We have the concept, we have a lot of solar sahelis where, solar sahelis have come up for solar, solar lighting, etc. Similarly, urban areas. Now, this again, my examples are more from this region, from the northeastern region. I don't know, you will be knowing better. We do have examples of women getting, since tea is a sector which is dominant in this region, we have a lot of women who have gone into tea industry, taken over from their family tea gardens, and have diversified. There are ladies, there is an example of a lady who has ventured into tourism, because tourism is another sector which has a lot of potential in this area. A lot of women have come into the tourism sector, right from, spiritual tourism to adventure tourism. A lot of women have come up to ecotourism, etc. Logistics also, few women entrepreneurs have come up. Wellness, instead of getting into just beauty, setting up a beauty parlor, people have got into wellness. Agribusiness is another sector where a lot of urban women are getting into. As we discuss, if there are any questions, we can go ahead and look at the trend about other states also. Growing number of women-founded startups have also come up. As I was talking about, we have talked about the SHG groups. We have talked about micro enterprises there, and we also a lot of startups. Startups are when you are not going for the typical funding, when your enterprise is both innovative and you're also using technology. A growing number of women-founded startups have come up. India's target network, largest network, has seen ideas from women increase from 10% to 30%. Let's Venture is a platform which gets about 60 to 700 ideas per month from women. Women are also getting into, right from stem cell research to using technology here. This Women's Day, when we were looking at when we were looking at women from unconventional sectors, because everyone's saying, from our ministry, we were looking at a Women's Day celebration. And they also said that let us look at women who are not into handicraft, anything else. There I found an example of a girl who has started something called Quick Guwahati, which is a platform for aggregation of various services, including plumbers, beauticians, carpenters, masons, etc. So she's an engineer by choice. She has started her own startup. She was incubated in an incubation center here in Guwahati. So it's not that women are not coming up. So I'm sure we will all have examples of a lot of startups which have come up. Some people have come up with innovative menstruation products, biodegradable sanitary napkins, cloth pads. So these are insurance company, co-working spaces. So these are a lot of areas in which we do have, one second. So these are a lot of areas in which we do have women, and I'm sure all of us will have numerous examples of women getting into unconventional sectors also. So this is more or less, if you look at, if you want me to, if I may sum up what I have said, you know, women, the ecosystem is very important for any enterprise to grow. So when we're looking at promoting women entrepreneurs, we can look at promoting women entrepreneurs at basically across the value chain. When we're looking at women at the grassroots, we look at more federating them and then taking them forward. There we find a women leader. I'll talk about one or two examples. When we talk about micro entrepreneurs, it's more about the choice that they make about the enterprise which they are starting. And can we sort of mentor them a little bit more? Can we help them to scale up, accelerate? Can we build up their aspirations, etc.? And when we look at the startups, of course, are informed people who are starting in. So in technology, are they adapting technology? Are we helping them find a co-founder? Are we helping them access funding, whatever the seed funding, venture funding, etc.? Because in Northeast, we have a dedicated venture fund for startups of Northeast, which was set up by the Ministry of Northeastern Region. Even in the dedicated venture fund, I found that we don't even have any women founder, purely women-led startup getting access to venture funds. So there is definitely some unknown barriers, unseen barriers, and that could be in terms of the aspiration, that could be in terms of exposure, that could be in terms of lack of awareness. So these are areas which we need to, depending on which target we are wanting to address, our strategy has to be different. So let me give examples from the three sectors. Before, I think I still have some time, so let me just give examples from the three sectors. One, when I talk about the grassroots level. I think most of you, I mean, the college institution would like to know more about community entrepreneurship. Any grassroots intervention that we are wanting to do, let me talk about the Manipur example, where I was working with 3,000 women weavers. So this was a project which was given by the Ministry of Textiles to us. It was one of the first livelihood cluster development program, which was given to us, and I had, as I said, by choice taken up the project. Now, when we started working in Manipur, the first important thing in any livelihood project is, you know, whether you're doing a thorough study, a proper diagnosis of what the issues and problems are. A lot of time has to be, any livelihood intervention, a lot of time has to be spent in diagnosing what are the key issues in the area in which I want to work on. Area and the target for which I'm wanting to work. Here in Manipur, we found, which we normally call it the diagnostic study. So here in Manipur, if you go, Manipur handlooms are one of the most beautiful handloom. At the same time, now, of course, to some extent, it's available at the national level. I'm talking about 10, 12 years back. You hardly have good products there in terms of quality products, maintaining standards, etc. there. So when we went and worked there, we found I found that there are two major issues which needs to be addressed. One was, yes, people are very skilled. They were still using outdated technology in terms of the looms that they were using. The second thing which I found was, while the weaves are very beautiful, the color fastness was not there. The colors used to bleed. The moment you buy something and you use it at your home, you will find that the color will not last. It goes away. I mean, a lot of starts fading. The third issue which I found was the yarn, which is the main component in making handloom products. Yarn prices were used to fluctuate a lot because Manipur is way, it's very remote. So when we started making intervention, apart from the fact that we wanted to mobilize, we had to build a trust, etc., etc. The other thing was we also had to, that was an ongoing process, trust building, etc. The other thing is to attack on 4 main things. One is, how do I remove the color fastness? So we did a lot of programs on dyeing. Because it's like a doctor diagnosing the problem. And once you know that your actual problems are being addressed, the goodwill automatically comes in. And taking the trust of few people. In Manipur, when I started working, language was a big barrier. You might be thinking from Northeast, we go to Manipur, everyone will understand us. No, because languages are different. And the most important thing is that 2008-9, people had a big bias towards Hindi also. None of the channels were allowed to, any Hindi channels to operate. And most of the weavers did not understand Hindi. So how do you communicate with them? So the strategy which I adopted was 2 or 3 weavers who understood at least Hindi, a little bit of English. So they were taken as, via media for interacting with a lot of trust level put to them. And they were not weavers, they were above the weavers, they were basically entrepreneurs. So we started attacking, I'll not go into details, so attacking the problems through the diagnostic study, that is color fastness, a lot of training programs on dyeing, a lot of training programs on creating goodwill, showing them the market, gave them a lot of exposure to get into the market. And basically, the intent about implementing a project is very important. Because at the grassroots and when you're working with people, if you're passionate, if your intent is there, people do understand that. Language, etc., becomes a second thing. You'll be surprised that during that period when I used to go from Guwahati to Manipur, even at my home, people used to, be very scared. How do you go to Manipur? Because every second day there would be a bombing, there would be a burns there. But there would be kidnapping happening every other day. I found that, because of why I'm talking about this experience is because at that point of time I had a lot of passion and the intent. So when there is passion and when there is intent, community entrepreneurship, 2 things are very important: passion and intent, and a proper diagnosis about what the issues needs to be tackled and what is the vision about where you want the project to go. If we build up these 4 things, we take a person, because in a community enterprise creation, it is the person ultimately, not only me, but the person at the grassroots also. It is the person who can make or break the project. Otherwise, with the amount of money which has been pumped in by Government of India in various states and through various projects, we should have had success stories everywhere. So this is something which is very extremely important. And once you build up that confidence, once that trust is built up in a group, on a group, when you want to promote enterprises on a group mode, then handholding, convergence, etc., will take the project through. As the project went away, as the project progressed, we got to the stage where the entrepreneurs on their own, few entrepreneurs, master weavers, I wouldn't even say entrepreneurs, they are entrepreneurs now. A few of the master weavers donated their own land. We had a big factory sort of a thing which has now come up, and they are running on a self-sustaining mode. This entire infrastructure is running on a self-sustaining mode. So a lot of weavers got empowered. They had a marketing consortium being built, more and more exposure. We had a lot of designers inbuilt. So it's any community project takes minimum of 3 years to see its light. it's not, you cannot make magic happen in just 5 months, 6 months or whatever, but it has to be a continuous effort. One of the major problems that we often have in any work that we, envisage to do is that, just a second, this my laptop is little giving away. I'm just trying.
Viewers, be there. Ma'am's computer may have been shut down. That's fine. She'll be joining soon. Just keep logging in, and you can post some questions if you have about the session, because we'll be having a question answer session soon. So you can type your questions in your YouTube part comment section. Until then, ma'am will be rejoining us very soon. So keep your questions in your mind, and you can type it also in YouTube. Today's session was very enlightening. I really hope so that everyone has taken some inputs from it. I've learned so much right now. Like, the passion and the intent is the most important part. Many women here who might be the students might have taken very good note of it. Ma'am, please continue.
Yeah, I'll continue, but then I don't know, something is wrong with my laptop. Anyway, till such time that my laptop does not give way, let me keep on continuing. So this is something which I have mentioned about this example, about this Manipur example. So there are numerous other examples like this, where so there are numerous other examples like this. So for example, there is one more village in which we worked. Okay, now it's come back. Another village in which we worked, where again, the entire vision which was developed for community enterprise promotion was, they were all into doing something called a silk, which is a airy silk, a non-violent silk found mostly in Assam. And the vision that we developed was to make it into a hub for natural dye. So with natural dye, you have a global market. And I will not go into details of that program, about that project, but then every weaver today in that particular village is doing natural dye, airy silk. And Assam, everyone knows that village as a hub for natural dye. So, whichever pocket I take up, I basically look at, whoever takes up has to have a vision as to what you want to, where you want to take the village to, and accordingly work towards that. So that's all. That's about community entrepreneurship. And when we look at making a sort of micro enterprise creation, it is like, again, at individual level you need to mentor, at individual level you need to sort of do a lot of hand holding, and sometimes nothing else but just giving the confidence itself works. And as educationists, when we are working in educational institutions, I think right from the college days, it's important that we have more, and the entrepreneurship cell needs to be very strong. And opportunities which are, if nothing else, even if you're just getting in success stories, people, you don't know what ignites what. This girl that I was talking about, who has started a platform for plumbers, etc. She was in the Engineering College of Assam, and the other day when she was in a talk show along with me, and she said something very interesting. She said, when I was an engineering student, once we had a entrepreneurship cell, had an awareness camp, and you had come and you talked about entrepreneurship, that's when my entire thing got ignited. So immediately nothing might come in, you don't know what is going to play on a young mind when. So with the new education policy, when we are looking at, so much of importance is there on self-employment, enterprise creation, and alignment between different, I think this, the cell, entrepreneurship cell in any institution can play a major role. And sometimes we also require social entrepreneurs, so exposing students to nearby villages. And instead of just making it a survey, can we look at sustainability? Can we look at having a vision where, because only social work doesn't work, social work with some, sustainable economic activity can make.
Maybe due to the network issue, ma'am's screen is frozen. Keep waiting. We'll just continue the session. Shipana ma'am, your mic is not working and the video is not working. So everyone who is watching, keep your questions posted. There's so many. Yes, ma'am has dropped. Ma'am, your mic is off. Ma'am, your mic is off from the
Okay. So I was almost coming to the end, and I think my laptop has also given away for some reason. So that's it. I would like to wind up here and just mention that enterprise, the role which institutions can play, and definitely, yes, if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer any questions that you have or anything that, any comments you would like to make, because I hardly gave an opportunity much to participate, although that was my intent initially. But I think entrepreneurship is too vast a subject, and I went on and on. And anything that you would like to ask or anything that you would like to comment? Anyone?
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable inputs. It was a very nice session. Being an entrepreneur myself, and our college being promoting entrepreneurship always and motivating people to be an entrepreneur. And this session has given so much insight to the part that women have natural knack for an entrepreneurship part. And you have said that we need some motivators or some people who are mentors. And mentors like you, if we have, then women can do a lot more in this world. And not giving such more, me be giving any speech, I really want some people to ask questions. So now I request for question and answer round. I call upon Professor Rima ma'am, Co-convener and IQAC member, lecturer, LKMIMSR. Please, ma'am, continue with the question answer round to ask the questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sonia. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Ma'am, many congratulations for an outstanding, captivating, and motivating session. There were excellent practical strategies
Thank you so much,
and techniques which can be used today. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. Ma'am, you are a great human being, accepting mistakes. In true sense of word, you are a symbol of what they say in Sanskrit, Vidya Vinayena Shobhate. Thank you so much, ma'am. And
thank you. Thank you so much.
One more thing, I would like to place on record my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Damiki Lalu of IIT Guwahati. Without whose cooperation, it would not have been possible for me to contact you and have this great session. Otherwise, it would have been a different story. Let's move on to the question answer session. First question was asked, why do women entrepreneurs fail?
Why do women entrepreneurs fail? I think I had already given some of the answers to that. You know, it is often because of certain barriers. Fail, when I say fail, is mostly women who have started do not fail. So women entrepreneurs don't fail actually. Women entrepreneurs who made a choice and they have started, they don't fail. This has been my experience. And they are, as I had already mentioned, that as far as your repayment, bank repayment, etc. is concerned, it is the question of failure is not there. Less failure. Only thing, very few women have seriously started. We need more women who actually take up entrepreneurship as a choice and do that seriously. So women entrepreneurs don't fail. Let's get out of that. Because women have a lot of internal qualities. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is, what are your tips for growing a company?
Growing a company, it's a very broad question that you've asked. It's the personal trait which will stand by the person. Number one, entrepreneurship journey is a very difficult journey. So one has to have that passion. One has to be passionate. One has to start a business in which he's never resting on his or her laurels. all the time thinking, all the time ideating, all the time ready to change, because change is the only constant. And in the entrepreneurial world, everything changes. So if I'm abreast of change, if I'm constantly coping and keeping myself with whatever changes are coming in, because this pandemic has given us enough examples of how change, and whichever companies have been able to cope are the companies that have survived. Either they have invented something new or they have reinvented the way they were working.
Okay,
So
thank
it is
you so much.
basically, yeah.
Thank you so much. And last question is, actually, finance is a lifeblood of any business. So please suggest some ways to raise and manage finance, because it is most of the times difficult for ladies to raise finance.
Yeah. Where do you want to first question is, where do you want to raise funds? If you want to raise funds through, normal banking system, then be confident. You learn what is there in the policies, what the policies say. Because a banker might say that, no, it's not possible, collateral. You have to have the right to say that. You first do your homework properly. Do your homework properly, and you know that there is no collateral required, and you should be able to stick to that. And keep on saying through papers also, because people are today scared when you give them facts and figures. These are ultimately public institutions. I'll just give a small example of a girl whom I'm mentoring, a woman whom I'm mentoring. She's making Ayurvedic products, beauty products. So number one, she was hesitant to go to a bank for a loan. I said, if you don't go for a loan, how do you scale up? So she went for a loan. And then there were numerous other things which were said that, come back, we will not be able to give you, different ways of not giving her. When she had done all her homework, I said, now you fight for your rights. You write to the CMD of the organization saying that I want to know why I did not get the loan. Next day itself, you had 2-3 bankers running to her, and she has got her loan sanctioned. So it is often about not very easily satisfied by what the banker, knowing your home, knowing your basics, whether you're actually eligible for the loan or not. So when you're raising funds, if you're a startup wanting to raise funds, it's a different ball game altogether. You have to have a valuation of your company. You have to know why, your scalability, etc. These are things, depends on what type of enterprise you are and what is the type of funds that you want to raise.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all from my side. And once again, thank you so much for ma'am joining us today. Over
Thank
to
you.
Dr.
Thank you.
Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Sonia.
Sonia, am I permitted to ask a single question to her?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Congratulations, Dr. Barua, ma'am. You are nicely, scaled up the various problems of women entrepreneurs. As we all know that India is a rice-producing country, and Assam and Maharashtra and most of the states are producing rice. In your presentation, you once told that the rice husk can be converted into mushroom, and most of the entrepreneurs are into that particularly. Is it really feasible?
I have read in Assam, we have not done that. It is mostly in Bihar that I read about this being done. Husk is converted into, for doing mushroom cultivation. Not in Assam.
Because India is having an ample of, resources of rice husk. So mostly rice husk is being utilized as a fuel for most of the power plant.
Fuel, common. So this is something which I had read, but I don't have a direct experience of this.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chakravorty sir, for asking some valuable questions. Rima ma'am for asking very valuable questions. And thank you, Dr. Shiparna ma'am, to answering those questions and to enlighten us with the deep impact of being an entrepreneur and how to do it and the natural life. Everything was wonderful. I really know that every person, the participants have taken a lot of knowledge from it, and I've been getting the motivation to work towards it now. So it's been a very valuable session. I request you, ma'am, to join at 1 p.m. I request you, ma'am, to join at 1 p.m. for the concluding session. So thank you, ma'am, for joining in. Yes.
Thank you.
No relation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. No relation is complete without a woman in this world. She plays a role of a loving mom, a caring sister, an understanding wife, and a lovable daughter. You have everything in you, and that's the why The world is celebrating you. Happy Women's Day one more time. And now I request the other resource person, Dr. Anjula Gurtu ma'am, Professor, Indian Institute of Science, to be on stage and address us with Bengaluru to enlighten us with the valuable words and some inputs that you could share with us. Thank you, ma'am, for being here.
Well, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So very interesting. I did hear our earlier professor. It was very interesting to listen to her. And well, it's also interesting to listen to you as to what you're saying. I think what I'm going to talk about it becomes extremely important here because while we, I think what I'm going to do in this talk is try and break some of the common thinking that exists in women themselves about who they are. Right? And I think in that it's apt because, as I said, I've been listening to what people have been saying whenever I join. And I think in that sense, this talk will have a little more meaning for everyone. Right? Of course, what I'm going to do here is therefore go a little more one step down from what the earlier speaker was talking about. Right? So we'll try and understand what exactly happens in the workplace for women. So I'll share my PPT. Right? I'll just put it in a PowerPoint. It's easier that way to remember and gives you cues into a screen. Sorry, I think it works. Window. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see you.
Okay, good. So I'm going to now stop my video just to ensure that we don't face a connection problem. Okay, so I've switched off my video and okay, here it goes. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, fine. So what I'm going to talk about is a mix of stuff, right? We're talking in terms of mainstreaming gender. We talk in terms of celebrating women and the rest of it that you're talking of. So let's see exactly what gets into doing this, right? What exactly do women face at the workplace and what are the hidden things that happen and how do men and women both contribute to the whole situation? And then is there a way out? Right? So I think the first question that comes in, I mean, especially for people, all of us, we are already in the workplace. Why bother? What is this whole thing about, women should be encouraged to join the workplace, take leadership positions, etc. If they're capable, they will do it. And for us who are already in the workplace, it's a very common thing to ask or question as to, why are we discussing this particular thing? So if you start looking at research, there's several reasons why they say we still need to, even when you are at the workplace, there's several things that you need to look into. Right? So the first thing that people say is the fact is that women and men do have different skills. There's enough and more research which shows and that there is a difference in the skills that women and men bring. The reason why in this particular century it becomes extremely critical to look at women and the skills that they bring is because a lot of what was happening earlier has been taken over by technology, right? So a lot of skills that we thought were very, gender specific, men lifting things, etc., have all been taken over by technology. What remains are things which actually women bring to the table. Right? So they tend to have higher emotional intelligence and they are seen to have more thorough and detailed way of seeing things. I'm just putting these two things. This is all research based. We will get into what research says more in detail. But one of the main reasons why it becomes critical for all of us who are already in the workplace, who are already in certain positions, to think as to why women and why we should mainstream them, encourage them, and move forward. It's extremely critical that the director who's sitting there's so many, I've seen some other men also who have joined the faculty in your place, why they should think of, especially the leadership in your organization and other organizations should think of women in workplace is because the skills that they get are far more relevant in the 21st century than what most probably men would be getting, right? Because the scenario has changed a lot of things that were critical at one stage and you needed men to actually operate in those spaces has been taken over by technology. So So are women and men different in their capabilities? Research shows that yes, that's true. They do are. So if you look at being intelligent and honest, there's no difference. They are similar. When research shows that when it comes to intelligence, honesty, integrity, there's no difference. Women, however, are seen to be far more organized than men. They're more systematic. They're more thorough and methodical. And what makes them different is the fact that men are seen to be more ambitious. They are more decisive. They don't hesitate to take decisions. Yes, no. And they don't bother about what the world will say. Oh, I should not do this. I should say that. They don't do that. They're more decisive. And they also they don't hesitate to think out of the box. So I said, so if you look at what this comprises, it basically saying that the traits are different, right? And that trait does not come in the form of intelligence, right? Or integrity or hard work and things like that. Both are seen when it comes for men and women. But what is telling is that when it comes to ambition and being decisive, taking decisions, taking a step forward, taking people together, at that time, men are found to be more stronger. So, point is that if you start looking at, just to add on to that whole this whole conversation, there was this 2007 McKinsey study that found that companies which were actually employing in all Europe, America, as well as Asia, which had more than 30% or more than 30% women in their teams, actually had higher organizational excellence. And again, to reiterate, the reason is because a lot of work now is getting shifted towards technology, right? Leadership requires a very, very different set of skills. You don't need to have very high, process skills. There's technology to do it. There's Tally to do your accounting. Most of it, if you see, you have technology to ensure the processes of your organization. If you're a company or if you are an academic institution, there are processes to make things work. You really, really don't need to have, people sitting there to ensure that these kind of the checks and balances also in the technology, right? Everything is taken over by softwares and hardware. Actually, you don't need much. The skills that you need, called the leadership skills, actually are more in terms of what women seem to possess. And so in 2019, for example, the proportion of women in senior management roles started growing to 29%, grew to 29, which is the highest number ever recorded. And this was all because they realized, the firms have started realizing that the rest of it is technology, but a lot of it is, getting people together, forming teams, being more productive, and there you need some of the skills that women have. And 80% of the global mid-market companies have at least one woman. So in their senior management, by 2020, that's a 2020 study that shows. However, the point to understand is that when you start looking at where is it that they are represented, you see they're mostly in administrative support roles. And that, I think, is understandable. If you see the research, it said that women are more thorough, right? And men were more in R&D, which is out of the box thinking, in operations, in, figuring out finance and things like that. And also, when another study was showing that 40% of human resource directors were women. So when it came to these traditional skills that when you were introducing, before you introduced me, there was this our colleague here who was talking about what women are all about, mother, this, that. So that part of it here also fits in the sense 40% of human resource directors are women compared to 17% who are in the head of marketing and 16% who are head of IT. Now, why does this happen? What is it that's making us not? Is there a difference in intelligence? No. Is there a difference in that technical skills? No, not at all. What makes us different is, where are these differences coming from? It's coming from a set of what we do and what men do, right? In terms of what is happening around in the workplace. So the first thing that we actually, for all of us people who are working and also who are going to work, women who are going to work and men who are in the workplace, they see is this thing called second order gender bias. So I'm not talking of the direct gender bias that happens where say, oh, women, they don't know what to do. But it's the second order gender bias, right? Where the practices where you're working will appear neutral. And unintentionally, I mean, they would be neutral, but are discriminatory because they reflect the values of the gender who's creating it. A simple thing like reworking identity roles, right? For women to progress in their thing, they have to sort of deny or put it aside or not too much talk about their primary role of a caregiver, right? So you're forced to sort of put that identity, which is very, appearing to be very man. And when you are talking in terms of your gender, few women have the courage to say, hey, I'm a top person in my field. I know I'm extremely intelligent. I know what to do. And I am also looking after my child, right? So there are two roles that I do and both I'm good at. Women don't do that. For that, that courage to sort of say, hey, that is also my role and that's okay. And I'm going to talk about it. It doesn't happen so easily. The other example is the fact that when women are assertive, they're seen as aggressive, right? When men are aggressive, they're seen as powerful. Simple thing, where women do it, men do it, we do it, right? And women are expected to be assertive, right? But I mean, so that it works in a funny, unintentional, second order way, indirect way, where if you collaborate too much, you are seen as weak. If you're assertive, then you seen as, that you're strong, but you also are seen as aggressive. With men, this kind of a reading would not happen. Women to women also, we end up reading it like that, right? If somebody is assertive, then you see the person to be aggressive. And as I said, we've already talked about this whole reworking their identity roles. Women do that. This is a second order gender bias, where subconsciously you don't sort of deny or you sort of put it aside or don't talk too much about your primary role. If you have a child to look after, you do that. Then also the other example would be when you subconsciously get intimidated by male colleagues. If they're more male in your environment, women get a little subconsciously intimidated, right? Oil rigs, you see, engineering roles, you see. Okay, public buses is a wrong example here. Public buses is a very interesting example of how it reflects the value of the gender who's creating the setting, right? Have you tried to, when you're wearing sari, I see a lot of women were wearing saris in the few people who were there in the team meeting, right? And have you tried to climb a public bus wearing a sari, which is the traditional good dress of an Indian woman? It's very difficult, right? The stairs in a public bus, which is engineered right here in India in some Pune or some other place, actually nobody has thought that it's not just the men who are climbing, who are wearing trousers. Women also climb. And they wear these traditional, they wear saris and in all forms. When they're going, they may not be going to workplace, but suppose they're taking the child, they go to the school, or they're taking the elderly person to the hospital, but they are taking public buses. Has anybody thought that, it's so uncomfortable to climb the bus wearing that sari? No. And that is a very interesting example of which reflects the values of the gender who's creating the setting, who's actually there in those places where these buses are getting made. Right? And women, if they go into these engineering fields, they feel very intimidated. Right? So this is one way. Then the other kind of bias that happens is due to the subtle and unintentional nature of so what happens is, because of the subtle and unintentional nature of second order gender bias, people may either deny or be unaware of these barriers, right? You don't realize what you're doing at that time, or the men don't realize what they're doing at that time, right? So if you see a male colleague and that person is aggressive, you don't bother. But you would see if a woman is aggressive, a male would react to it, a male colleague would react to it. So those kind of things happen from both sides, right? Women also do it. We also party to the whole reading of a certain situation in a certain way. So then what happens is, when you are in these kind of situations where they appear apparently neutral, right, you also, it forces women like us and others who are going to join the workplace to not legitimately, constructively debate these issues, right? You feel, oh, I'm comfortable. I am kind of, in a particular setting. I have followed a certain male-dominated discussions, and I have molded myself to that kind of environment or that kind of a thinking and that kind of a space. And therefore, then you also sort of lead to not having constructive debates of what are the disparities that are happening at the indirect level. The interesting part is that when women, when they realize this hidden gender bias, they use it strategically and are seen to be more successful. But that is a separate interesting thing to read about how when you realize these kind of things, you're more conscious about these things, you tend to be more successful because then you operate in a different way. So some of these examples which I found very interesting is, these just you can read them. This person says that I can't be 6'3", handsome with a firm handshake, but that's the image people have when they think of power and influence, right? And women have to reconcile contradictory messages, which I was talking about, how assertive, aggressive, collaborative, they all get mixed up and read differently in a certain way. And so moving next is, what else do women face in the 21st century? So, of course, stereotyping, we know it still happens, right? You put an attribute to a person just because of their gender. So, I mean, if there's a woman who says, I don't want to have a child, it's big news, right? Why not? I mean, they are supposed to be nurturing. They have to have, if they're ambitious, that becomes, people become very uncomfortable with that, right? If they have higher need for power and this, they get noticed. Men, when they have higher need for power, if they aggressively pursue a career, they will not get noticed. But if woman does it, she'll get noticed. They're supposed to have more empathy. I'll tell you a very interesting example of, my PhD students. Now, it's just because I'm a woman, I'm expected to be more empathetic and more nurturing, and therefore become, a replacement for a mother, because everybody stays in hostels here, replacement to a mother figure. And when they don't see that happening, I say, no, it's a professional workspace and you're a PhD student. So everybody does the same. Gender is irrelevant here, right? And you have to do the things you're supposed to do. It takes some time for my male PhD students to adjust to that. That just because I'm a woman, I'm going to behave differently. And I'll be more nurturing, empathetic towards their problems and things like that. And when my take is that, no, this is a professional space. Gender is irrelevant here. Well, it becomes a bit of something to talk about. Then, of course, the fact is that is gender difference in caregiving a fact or an artifact? People do say that women, gender neutrality. So there's a huge debate here. On one side, there's gender neutrality, and there's whole sort of research which says it is gender neutral. And a lot of what comes with women is because they're trained to sort of have empathy and nurturing, and therefore a guilt if you don't do it. Versus there's also a huge amount of research which shows that mothers are more genetically knowledgeable, right? So therefore it's natural for them to take the primary caregiving role, right? So, but of course, the point is that so therefore, given that, should they sort of upfront say that's another role that I play equally when I'm at my workplace? That is an issue to sort of talk about. What is wrong if I say that, yes, I have to I'm not going to be in this meeting because I have to go and do this to the child. Say, take my child to the dentist or whatever, or there's some issue, the child is not well. So that is something that women have to think about. How much do you want to sort of move to the next? Have these two things together without hesitation and do both of them well. I'm going with this with this premise that, and with this clear understanding, in my experience, that women can do both of it equally well. They can do well in the workplace. They can also do well as a primary caregiver role. Right? The research that shows that men in certain cultures, maybe India included, were found to be less depressed and less burdened by. So when they were checking about women and men, they realized that men typically are less burdened, have less feelings of depression, etc. And they found the reason was they had limited home responsibilities. Because culturally it was believed that the female, it's her duty to be more, to look after the house, look after the children. So that was a significantly clear reason to why men felt less burdened, less depressed, and had more, in that sense, mental space to think out of the box, etc. So, of course, I mean, a lot of women may relate to this when they say, so what happens is often at the workplace, when you're working or you're joining a workplace, you get stuck somewhere between trying harder and why bother, because of all these reasons. Because, you know, there are these first order gender biases, there's second order gender biases. First order would be stereotyping and things like that. Second is where an apparently neutral workplace actually has its own, hidden layers of what is happening around. So, in that sense, oftentimes women wonder, where is it that they should go? So there's another research, I've forgotten to mention actually the researcher, but this was also very interesting. So when women were asked, what are the challenges that they face to their career advancement? They said lack of supportive supervisors, exclusion from informal networks, lack of senior role models, and biases and inhospitable culture, failure of senior leadership to help advance someone like me, the need to prioritize family over work. If the same questions were asked to men, what do you think is the challenges that women face for career advancement? This is what they said. They said not anything else, but they said they have an ineffective leadership style. They're not decisive. They don't take a step forward. They can't think out of the box. They don't, sort of stick their neck out and say, hey, let's try this. They don't take risks. That was the reason they said why women don't. Then they said unwilling to change organizations, that they have this particular space which they have fought to sort of come. And so many of the women who are already working would understand what I'm saying. You fought to be in that seat. And now for you to, because you fought hard to be there, you don't want to change. And that therefore drags you down in terms of your learning and moving ahead. And of course, there was also saying that they don't have general line management experience, which means they're not on the shop floor. Right? They are, so again, same things are coming across again, that they are typically in administrative and, the other roles, HR kind of roles, and not in actual operations. So how to move ahead? Okay, so this seems to be the last slide. So, the first thing that is important is for women and men, if they have the courage, the guts, especially the leadership and who are from the male gender, if they have the courage to start the debate about second order gender biases. Do you really have equity and equitable and inclusive workspace for women? That is the first thing that everybody has to ask. The women themselves have to ask, right? And in that sense, both genders have to get comfortable that women are around, right? That there are these biases and we need to do something about them. The other thing that several people say for women especially is that you should get out of the stereotypical attributes. Draw on your personal individual strength, whatever it is. Even if it is nurturing, then draw on that strength. Right? And if it is not, then draw on whatever the next strength is. So, of course, then recognize diverse abilities and experiences of self that the fact that there is diversity of experience is normal for men and women also have to recognize that it is fine to have diverse experiences, and that's just part of life, work life, personal life, and life in general. And I think, and the other thing that I think I should have put this up before, you have to start changing the assumptions about what success is all about, right? Is success about when I don't talk about my home and when I behave like men? For women, they need to question this, right? Or do I behave traditionally? I have to wear a sari, I have to dress a certain way, I have to do certain things. Would that sort of, are those assumptions that will ensure that, what is there something else, and how is it linked to work success? And in that sense, start talking about, can you change some of the assumptions about work success? Are they really connected? Some of the assumptions that you're making, are they really? And if they are, then can you start discussions around them, ensure that men, both genders, start getting comfortable with the other side. Right? So, of course, there was this very interesting research by Wesley Center for Research on Women. I'll close with this. So, of course, these are prescriptive, but I still find them, I think they're practical. that women must be optimistic to overcome outcomes. So the fact is that, as I said, there's research which shows that women do tend to move more towards depression and the other side, or letting go of in the other side, because they have many more responsibilities. But that basic thing, optimism to overcome obstacles, should be there. The strategy to gain visibility and for people to notice you is that you should know what is your value, and you should value that particular, as I said, draw on your individual strength and what is it that you are good at, and let other people know that this is my strength. Right? This is what I can do, this is what I can't do. Right? So if you're expecting me to become in an HR role and do this, I can't do it. I don't have this nurturing, whatever, for example, thing. But I have these qualities. I'm extremely good at organizing things, taking things forward. I can make contact, develop businesses. Let people know what your main strength is, right? Sometimes early support from others help, but it is not critical for success. You don't need to have some mentor all the time within the organization. It's not required. You can, on your own, understanding what your strengths are, what the workplace is, and start moving ahead. Okay? And of course, the last sentence that I should have actually bolded is that mothering does provide valuable skills and training to lead others. Right? It is, so in that sense, when at the start of the talk, when one of my colleagues was talking about what women's role is, yes, I countered it saying that, hey, you're really talking in a very stereotypical way. But I would like to close and say that, yeah, the fact is that when you are dealing with small children, you learn a lot of things other than patience. You get learn to have strategic skills in dealing with others, in making others, move ahead, and in that sense, leading others. So with that, I'd like to close. Thank you so much. I hope I haven't created too much of debate but I hope you'll all think about what I'm saying, what I have said in some form.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable inputs. We have learned a lot. Earlier, you used to say like there is a bias that a girl has to be at home and a boy has to go out and study and something like that. But there are bias in the industry itself, being an entrepreneur or in a company also. And with the graph, it was amazing how we know that we are more honest and how they are more aspirant toward the things. And the bus example was very nice that yes, unknowingly they are doing some bias because we are not wearing the trousers. Maybe today many are, but we wear saris too. So there are people who are knowingly doing this bias. Some men are doing unknowingly this bias. And you have given us such great examples that how can a woman be more optimistic, and how that always a mentor is not required, because we feel that we are women, we need someone. But it's not important. We should know our worth to go in front and lead others too. And how you told that mothering is also a good fact that we are learning so many things that we can lead. So it was such a wonderful session, and I really know that the students who are watching have gained a lot of knowledge from it. I've also gained a lot of knowledge from it. I've been motivated with your speech, and I really think there are also some people who love women. They want to give them the raising part, and that's why there must be a person who has seen her mother being very problematic when she is making some chilies, and that's why he invented mixer. Her mother is washing clothes, and that's why he invented the washing machine, and that's why in some scenario, like in this college right now, we have taken this webinar, like our Dr. Chakravorty, so respected, so has conducted this webinar for women empowerment. So are they willing and properly motivated to bring women front. And that's why sir has also given me opportunity to anchor this program, and many other people. The sir is always encouraging us for that. So I am very glad that we have men also who are encouraging us in every part of our life. So thank you, ma'am, for this enlightening session. And now I request our respected principal, Dr. Chakravorty sir, resource person and special guest, Dr. Shiparna Bahua ma'am, and Dr. Anjula ma'am, to proceed with concluding session. Please continue with the concluding session.
May I now request Dr. Neha Sharma. Is she there? Anil Pandey sir is there?
No, Anil Pandey sir is there.
Yeah, Dr. Neha Sharma.
No, I can't see Neha.
Anjula ma'am, I take this opportunity to bring at your kind attention that we are having a tradition of, conducting any kind of events, whether it is on a national platform or international platform. We try to, it's an outcome-based conferences. So last time, I mean, 8th of March 2021, we have organized a similar kind of event on which the outcome was that IMA, Indian Medical Association, and Tata Memorial Hospital, so they are having a tie-up with our institute to early diagnose the deadly diseases that being happened to a girl child, and then from an NGO and special special funding of rupees 40 lakhs is being given to that girl child. So that was basically an outcome, having a tie-up with IMAs and Tata Memorial Hospital. So I want this was a fruitful discussion, but some outcome must be there in this particular conference. I would like to have an opinion of Mr. Anil Pandey. Professor Anil Pandey is there?
Yes, sir. I'm very much there.
Yeah. Could you please draw some conclusions out of today's webinar?
Yeah. First of all, let me say a word of thanks to Anjula Madam. It was a wonderful presentation. And the first presentation also was quite, focused. Suparna Madam has given quite insight on what work she was involved into. And it's interesting to understand from the first speaker that there is a serious work which is happening, that too in a deep rural part of this world, this country. There are a couple of, in between I could make it out that Anjula Madam has made very points which are of very importance. But the discussion by both the speakers, which went on some note like women, they face different challenges. There are many challenges, but on the contrary, I say that if you focus on metropolitan cities and the entrepreneurship part, or maybe those who are working, you'll find that there are success stories which can be quoted. There are really success stories. Anjula Madam itself is a success story. Now, being a part of a very prestigious institution. So likewise, here I take this opportunity to make a point that henceforth, as we are academicians, in every session, if we focus on success stories of women, which could be deliberated to our students, perhaps that is the way we can celebrate women. My observation of this overall initiative by institute, LKMIMSR Institute, this program is really, I feel, is an important program, and as far as outcome based is concerned, I am really not able to make it out right now. But for me, it's a success. It's really a success. Getting so many people who are distinguished luminaries on one platform, getting their opinion, listening to them. It's a task itself, and that's why I feel that this program is a success, and I'm very happy to be a part of this program. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Neha ma'am has joined us. Ma'am, this is the last concluding part of our event. As you know that the event should be an outcome-based event. So I want some concrete from you regarding today's webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Jayesh. So I was very intently listening to the inputs given by Professor Anjula Gundu, and combining it with the presentation of Professor Sri Rupa. Both of them have brought in two perspectives of a different plane. Dr. Anjula talking about the primary gender neutrality and gender equality, the foundation, and Professor Sri Rupa talking about how to then further escalate it to empower women through their own enterprises. So to me, the outcome, as an academician, there are two outcomes which appeal to me. One is a gender-based study, research from the inputs provided by Professor Gurtu, that there are certain innate skills of female or ladies which are seen as her weakness, and there are certain innate skills or strengths of men which the world tries to impose on the women in the workforce. So how can there be a conditioning, or how can there be a tutoring of a women to overcome those fears which are innately in her, to not to be labeled as weak leaders, and at the same time not be afraid of leveraging and putting on table the innate caregiving or attention to detail skills that we have, not to be ashamed or not to be scared of putting those on table and leveraging them for better leadership. I somehow feel that if our young participants, they participate in this kind of research on their own under the mentorship of people who have done it, it will give them more exposure, more confidence to apply those research findings in their own careers. And we would be doing a yeoman task for the ladies of the future world. At the same time, as Dr. Jayesh, you had mentioned that Chandrapur is in the tribal belt. Similarly, near Ahmedabad, we have a lot of tribal areas where there is a lot of scope for community entrepreneurship. And the thing which strikes me is community entrepreneurship. Can it be a way for women empowerment and entrepreneurial initiation? If individual girl or lady is somehow apprehensive about venturing into entrepreneurial thing, thinking that they may not be able to find enough financial backing or enough managerial support, then can community entrepreneurship be an answer to that? And we have three excellent areas: Assam, where Professor Barua has done a lot of work herself and replicating or finding out the models in Gadchiroli, as well as Baswara and Chota Udaipur or Banaskantha space of Gujarat. Whether it is true here, put up a paper. So as an academician, some practical research is what is an outcome that I would like to take from this national deliberation that we have.
Yeah, thanks you a lot. Professor Anjula Gurtu ma'am, see, the main objectives of organize this kind of webinar is to bring together on a common platform, right from Assam to Bengaluru to Ahmedabad and Mumbai. So we have come across in a common platform. So what I intend to draw from this is your expertise in your field. I know that Professor Anjula Gurtu ma'am has doing excellent work in IISc. She is being engaged in various bodies of IISc, and she's doing there. And of course, Dr. Sripurna Barua, she has an excellent work in woman entrepreneurship in IE, Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship in Guwahati. can we form a cell across wherein, we want an expertise of Professor Anjula Gurtu in the tribal university, actually, because, I have been given an opportunity to discuss with you regarding that the formation of Gondwana University in the tribal belt of Chandrapur and Gurchali, as Neha ma'am was rightly telling. So can she be in the panel of, kind of university mentoring the girl students? So that kind of blend, is it possible? Of course, with the premier institution like Jamnalal Bajaj is with us today. Anil Pandey sir is there. He has already mentioned that he says no to nothing. He already very positive feedback. So I would like to hear from Madam Manjula Guttu whether this kind of is possible. If you could
Of
be,
course.
yeah,
Definitely. I'll be very happy to help.
yeah.
If there is something that comes up, I'll be very happy to help.
Okay. So, and probably Dr. Barua madam will be joining, but I don't know because she is in the meeting. But she has given her consent that she is ready to any kind of whatever we have forming a cell and all. So she is ready to work. Ma'am, with your kind permission, Dr. Anjula Guttu ma'am, shall we form a cell, a special kind of cell? A person from Jamnalal Bajaj, a person from Ahmedabad, from IIE Guwahati, and from ISC. Even, of course, Dr. Bala will be there also. And so can we form a cell wherein,
Sure.
we need to have this kind of, both the things will be there. One is going for the women entrepreneurships in the tribal belt, and of course your gender equality. So that can be in this common cell. So we will name it. We will go for a Namkaran also, and we'll have that the task will be handled by Professor Neha Sharma. So that probably the possible outcome of this conference, I feel. Okay.
But I quite like the way, Neha, you had summarized everything. And I'll be happy to work with you if there's a cell that comes up and there's something.
Right.
I think it would be really nice.
Thanks. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's over to you, Sonia,
Yeah, thank you everyone. And now we have reached to the end part and the conclusion part, and we have reached a very great conclusion that will be very helpful for the future women entrepreneurs and for the women forward. And now we have reached to the end. So I thank you everyone for attending today's one-day national webinar on gender sensitization on the occasion of International Women's Day, organized by LKMIMSR in association with Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies and Research, Mumbai, and Shanti Business School, Ahmedabad. We hope that you have taken notes, enlightened with powerful thoughts of resource person, and learned something new today. I really thank the honorable guests, resource persons, speakers, our principal, Neha ma'am, Anil Pandey sir, and everyone, and teaching, non-teaching staff of our college, and the technical staff, because they have given their time, effort, valuable presence, everyone. I thank everyone for making this program a very great success with a valuable output and motivating for all the students which are here. So it's the joint effort of everyone. That's why this program has been a success. I really request the students to give the feedback on the program to receive the e-certificate. And now I formally announce that the program is ended and concluded. Thank you very much for being here. Great morning, great afternoon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Neha ma'am. Now it's an unofficial, we can discuss bit.
Yes.
Neha ma'am, as we